So without further ado, we'll call on stage for a focus on how to make the IoT a reality, but also a simple opportunity as a device maker. And we'll get representative from Onsemi, STM, and Avnet. And to moderate this panel, I'd like to welcome our Director Ecosystem Partners, Frank Sober.
Hello. So the next panel discussion, I'm more than happy to have well-known speakers with me on stage. We will talk about the IoT, a real and simple opportunity for device makers. And everything starts with the silicon. So we have two silicon providers here with Onsemi and STMicro, and a component distributor with Avnet. The digitization is growing, and we will talk, and we try to talk about the challenges that will bring, the opportunities and the applications, where we all about excitements here in the presentations we had before, and also topics which we need to consider, like security. So let's start, and I'd like to first welcome Philippe Fremont. He's the Vice President of Technical Marketing of Avnet in Europe, and he's responsible for the European IoT strategy of Avnet. And I would like to give the words to Philippe to say some words why he's sitting here on this exciting event for Sigfox.
Yeah, so thank you, Frank, for the introduction. As Ludovic was mentioning, we are now in a digital revolution, which is completely transforming the job of distribution. So what Avnet is currently doing is trying to understand edge to cloud and bring value far over the electronic component, which is what we have done the last 25 years. So I will shortly explain how we handle that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Philippe, for this short introduction. The next on stage, I would like to introduce Frédéric Valentin. Frédéric is a Senior Marketing Manager for Wireless Communication Solution at ON Semiconductor, and he's responsible for the sub 1 GHz and 2.4 GHz product lines and the low power RF applications team at Onsemi.
Good morning, everyone. So ON Semiconductor is a $5 billion company, a world-class leading semiconductor company delivering solutions for multiple markets. Today, we are mainly focusing on industrial IoT and consumer market. When we speak about Sigfox, our company has been investing in Sigfox for years. Actually, we were one of the first company, an early believer in the Sigfox business model. We are there for 4 years. We have plenty of different solutions. We believe in that ecosystem, and we will continue to introduce a lot of products and actively contribute to its success over the next few years.
Thank you, Frédéric. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Marco Veneri from STMicroelectronic. He's Marketing Manager for Low Power RF, and is responsible for the sensor to cloud RF connectivity within STMicro.
No, we cannot hear you.
Marco, I think, is the microphone, can you hear the microphone? Okay.
Good seeing
you cannot hear? Yeah.
You have a minute.
Can you open this one? Yeah.
Hello everybody,
yeah.
My name is Marco Veneri, and STMicroelectronics is a global semiconductor company with more than 80 sales and marketing offices all over the world. Why we're here today, the reason is very simple, because we believe we have a good solution, in fact, fitting the device makers in the IoT landscape. So basically we have a product portfolio that is widely covering everything that is needed for the IoT landscape, such as the sensor to cloud scenario. We do have sensor, we do have ultra low power connectivity, we do have high performance scalable processing capability, and we do have the secure elements to secure the end-to-end IoT applications. So this is the very reason why we are here, to bring you the full solution and the full ecosystem to you, and we are working in partnership, in fact, with Sigfox to build up this wonderful ecosystem.
So thank you, gentlemen, for this first show's overview and the introduction of yourself. Glad to have you here on the stage. Let us talk, before we talk about the opportunities, talk about challenges also you see, what the digitalization will bring, and what you also see for the challenges the classical device makers, I would say, your classical electronic partners and customers today are facing on their journey towards connected objects. Maybe we continue with you, Marco, and you show your view.
Yes, basically we see a lot of different challenge to IoT device makers. One of the first challenge, in fact, is when you want to deploy an IoT node on the field in the country, you need to be very good in the power consumption. So power consumption is one of the main challenges that we are facing in the IoT landscape. The second one is the maintenance of the node and the management of the service. So you don't want, in fact, to have something to do with the management or the maintenance of the node. You just want to deploy very easily the node on the market. You want to deploy maybe thousands, millions, hopefully billions of nodes out there, ultra low power consumption, and with a very low maintenance cost. This is the second challenge. The third challenge we see is the business model and the value chain. So you don't want to have something to do with the network and the infrastructure by yourself. You want to rely on something that is ready to use, easy to connect, and something that you can really help you to focus on the IoT node. So just building the value in the IoT node in something that you can do, and where is your value proposition, and go very easily on the market. The business model means also to have some very good guidelines about how to connect to the network, where is the value of your solution, and what you can bring very easily on the market. Then, last but not least, there is the issue about the security. Security is one of the biggest issues that we have as of today in all the global communications, because devices are, of course, IoT nodes are, of course, generating data, feeding the data through the network to the cloud, and at the end of the day, there will be some very big company or also small company making some critical decision about the data that has been uploaded by the sensor all over the world. So security is one of the major issues that we need also as a semiconductor company to face and to find solution and to come back to you with this building block as well.
Maybe some additional side questions. How you see your customer base prepared for that journey at the moment on these aspects you mentioned?
Yes, basically we see quite different opportunities in different vertical segments, in different markets and different applications. And the very big point here is that we see that there is really a worth to come back to them with the full system, with the full ecosystem, and not just with for example, radio transceiver or a single piece, a single part of the picture. So in order to enable device makers, IoT device makers, to go quickly on the market as fast as possible, so the go-to-market strategy, it is really an advantage to them to have a full solution that can be easily tweaked in order to build up their own application. So something very simple to use. They need tools, they need the ecosystem, they need the software components, and they need the device, of course, that we are providing as our major business.
Thank you, Marcus. Maybe get the words from Onsemi about what you see as the biggest challenge of the classical device makers. If you share certain views what Marco has mentioned.
Okay.
I assume you talk to some of them, the same customers.
So yes, indeed, we share some of these challenges. Like the power consumption is one of them. Security is another one. I would like to highlight 3 very specific challenges related to the Sigfox ecosystem. I would say the first one is the device maker really needs to put first things first. What does it mean? It means that adding connectivity is not sufficient to have an attractive business model. Over the past 2 to 3 years, we supported a lot of people who wanted to add Sigfox connectivity quickly in order to grab market share, but without a solid business model. So it's really important to put the way you think about your business the other way around. Come with a use case, think what you can do with Sigfox, and develop the product and not vice versa. I think that's quite important. We are slowly getting out of it as the technology is maturing, as the ecosystem is becoming, let's say, older, and that's very important that we move out of that kind of challenge. Developing a product for a few thousand pieces or to connect millions or tens of million devices is a different scale. You really have to prepare for it. The second challenge we face with our customers when they come to us is often they don't say, I want Sigfox. They say, what should I use as a technology, as a wireless technology? And there's not one single answer to that. So having partners that can enable you with multiple technologies, Sigfox as a backbone, but maybe with some additional connectivity, is very important because there's no single answer to your business model. So I think that's very important. And the last one, you need to find reliable ecosystem partners. Again, the ecosystem is there to help you. When you start the journey of IoT, you will need a lot of support from different people, semiconductor people, distribution partners that can get you the product. It's really important that you have it clear in your mind and that you think from day one about the end product, the way you are going to support it in the field, and the way you are going to test it and industrialize it. So it's not that easy, and we are to help directly or with partners like Wisel, for instance, if we talk about modules, or with people like the Things.io if we think about IoT platforms.
Thank you, Frederick. So we heard about security, we heard about solutions, we heard about low power. You have those gentlemen in your portfolio, and I think as a distributor, you also addressing the customers, maybe also not only selling the components, but doing more around that. So it would be certainly interesting to understand the biggest challenge, first of all, if you share the view of the 2 gentlemen, but also how you address it from your point of view, which is a little bit a different part of the value chain compared to the suppliers.
So effectively, everything which is related to power consumption, security, is a challenge, but I think that the main challenge is to bridge 2 worlds that are working in parallel since 20 years. The IT world, one side, having devices connected to their network, but those devices were mobile phone, tablets, so they are or laptop. They are used to that since years, and it's really something which is fully secured. They are already in the cloud, and then we have the electronic guys coming, saying, I want to connect my device into your IT system. So first of all, those people don't talk the same language. And then in between, you have a mobile network operator. So Sigfox is definitely simplifying the connectivity. And this is really, I think, to simplify that is really the best thing you could provide to the market. But still, what do I do with my data coming from my electronic device? And in the cloud, what is the cloud? Is Azure, Amazon Web Services, IBM, Watson, are they able to provide use cases today? I don't think so. This might come over the time. So which platform we should use in terms of IoT platform? What is industrial? What is not? What can I use for proof of concept? And how can I deploy a project? So actually what we're trying to implement within Avnet now is to fulfill those gaps by creating new people, we call them IoT architects, able to help our guys from the electronic side up to the cloud, that you can have a project from end to end with the artificial intelligence, because actually those guys need to understand each other. And I think that the last 2 years we've done a great job in trying to understand that by working with people like Sigfox, with IBM, with Microsoft, but also people like Relayer, with Softweb in the US, with Octonion in France, and we understand some of the concern of the IoT platform, and it's huge because the investment today in an hardware company is probably out of 10 designers, you probably have 8 software guys and 2 hardware guys. That's more or less what we have, and we had exactly the opposite 10 years ago. So now those electronic customers need to do a further step, which is a huge investment, how to go into the cloud and with who I should go into the cloud, and how do I manage my security on the top of having a secure element, how do I program my public and private key, how do I manage KMS, and etc. So key management system. So those are the challenges that we are trying to solve within Avnet by having a global IoT strategy and a global IoT team.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. So I sense that you understand the challenges out there, and what I'm sensed from all of you three saying that you have some ideas how to address that in the different ways for the company. So let's maybe move away from challenges, because we have this exciting event here, and talk about where's the growth and what kind of applications you see. So what is driving the new application, the business case? And I think it is a good follow-up to what you just said. If you can address from an Avnet point of view, what you see from the application as a distributor driving the predictive growth, which we're all excited about, starting from the speech of Ludovic this morning.
So, yeah, we have the traditional use cases where some of our existing customers would like to be connected for asset tracking, which is a big one for us as well, not only for Sigfox, but I think for everyone. We have a lot of use cases that are kind of traditional for an electronic customer, but we see more and more customers having no knowledge on electronic, we call them non-traditional customers, coming to you with an idea saying, I need to connect that because for predictive maintenance, I need to retrofit my elevators and I have already 100,000 already installed. How can you help me? How can I make sure that I will be in line with the new regulation without having to invest millions of dollars? How can I bring the right level of security to existing devices? So we see a lot of non-traditional customers coming to us to say, okay guys, I have a problem, how can you solve it? So I think that our job is, first of all, this is generating a lot of leads, and Sigfox as well, because Sigfox is generating a lot of new potential applications that we couldn't see before, and we work with Sigfox since the very beginning, so we have experienced all the challenges, but also the successes. So I think that those opportunities will come from a new world. We've heard from different companies that in 7 years, 70% of the electronic business will be done by company we don't know today. And that's really the challenge, is who are the customers of tomorrow and how will they work? So that's clearly where we have to be and how we have to work.
Are you sharing Philip's view? If you'd like to comment?
Actually, I can't hear Philip on scene, so...
Okay.
because
okay, so basically, he basically started from the change between the combination of the IT world and the classical device maker world, and see especially application, mentioned asset tracking, from customers he doesn't know yet, or new customers which historically have not used electronics.
Yeah, that's right. I think we share very often the same customer base, and we indeed see a move in the type of customers coming through us, and we are to some extent delighted to work more and more with distribution to kind of educate a little bit this new customer base on electronics, how to get the product to the market. So yes, we see definitely an important move of the customer base in this type of LP1 technologies. Yes.
Would that mean, as we talked about some minutes ago, we talked about the challenges of your existing device makers, and Philip was talking about the opportunities and growth by the new device makers. So how would you see that as a balance? Is your classical base, the new base, is that is the one who's staying stable and just changing, and the other one is growing on top, or?
That's a very good question. When we first introduced the Sigfox verified SoC for the RCZ1, we had immediately hundreds of customers coming to us, mainly through the distribution channel and Avnet in particular. And our support model for a big company like ON Semiconductor was absolutely not tailored towards answering these kind of challenges. So very quickly, we realized that having this kind of customers coming directly to us for support was not manageable on the long term, because there were many people not necessarily familiar with the technology itself. So we were spending a lot of time educating people on Sigfox, what's the technology, what it can do, rather than selling the silicon for Sigfox. So that was one of the first challenges for us. The second one is that when you talk for one single opportunity, in our traditional business model, we have a direct customer, he comes to us, and we are dealing about the specificities of their project. In the Sigfox ecosystem, you have multiple parties involved in one single opportunity. You have very often the network operators, the design house, the end customer, distribution partner, on-semi, and often also contractors. So the complexity for supporting one single opportunity was very strong and very complicated at the beginning of Sigfox. We slowly moved towards reference design-based solution to enable our customers to really 100% reuse certified platforms and ease the adoption of Sigfox on their solution. But this was definitely not sufficient. So at the time the Nectar project came in, we jumped in on this opportunity in order to streamline our support model and make sure that the vast majority of Sigfox customers could use out-of-the-box modules. So we have teamed up with Wisol in particular to make this low-cost $2 module in 2016, which was a great success. I think it's still a great success today. And this is really helping customers to focus on their application business model instead of trying to modify an RF system, which is always very complicated. So we prefer really people to focus on that, on the antenna design, instead of always starting from scratch on an SoC. There's market for an SoC, there's market for RF, but the module was very important to accelerate the growth of Sigfox. So that's a second change in the support model. One of the last things we also realized is that there were multiple certification steps for our customers, and we had to get familiar with it. So we introduced ourselves product, P2 certified, just to make sure we understand the complete development cycle from A to Z, to put ourselves in the shoes of our ecosystem partners. So we have developed the PIR GUI that you may have seen that connects and detects movement and sending alarms directly on the network. So this is really a total shift in terms of support model. And in order to accelerate that shift, we recently introduced the first SIP, which is externally looking like a module, which is again enabling our customers to focus on what's important for them, the use case, the application, and the antenna design.
So if I hear both of you, and I'd like to include Marco in the discussion. So you said you're responsible for sensor to the cloud. What I hear from Philip, the opportunities is from customers. The growth is coming from customers which are historically not electronic customers. We heard from Frederick that they're working on to a tab that with reference designs and modules, because those are need to have an easier journey because they don't have electronic expertise over the many years like your terrestrial customer base. I would assume in your title, sensor to cloud, I might hear something similar from your point of view.
So basically, we are building this kind of ecosystem. With includes, in fact, okay, of course, ST is a semiconductor company, so we do have the three main pillars that are the low power connectivity, the high efficiency processing, and the security. And we are building this within our own solution that comes with not only device, silicon device, but also with tools, with software development kit, and with modules. So we do believe that there is a huge market in the asset tracking as well as they were mentioning before, and we come to our customer in order to enable them to go as quickly as possible to the market. Frederick was mentioning the certification step as well. This is an important point. Certification step is something that ST is trying to help the customer to go through very quickly and to help to minimize the redesign efforts. Especially for medium, small company, the redesign effort is one of the another challenge. We were talking before about the challenge when you want to introduce on the market an IoT device. So it's very important to be able to provide the local support, the tools, the equipment, the guidelines in order to ease the certification process as much as possible. So again, the time to market is one of the major constraints that we see in the innovation arena, basically, and bringing the full ecosystem for the sensor to cloud, as you said, as is our focus marketing as of today, is one of the major points, one of the major focus, in fact, that we have in ST.
Okay. As we talk about Sigfox here, I heard asset tracking. What other applications you see at the moment, just real, on your plate?
Backup communication. The GSM network is not always stable, as we all know when we have our mobile phone. We know an application, some application where, as an example, Sigfox could be added as a kind of backup communication if you have no GSM network, or if the GSM network is jammed, that you can detect it and send a Sigfox message. So I think there's a lot of application around backup communication. Sigfox is extremely stable. Other networks are not always that stable. So that could be a good combination. Sometimes people are putting things against each other, and in that case I think that Sigfox is totally complementary to a traditional GSM network, even narrowband IoT tomorrow.
I think we heard that in the panel discussion before with the operators, which I mentioned, similar approach. What other applications?
I think on top of what Philippe just mentioned, I think smart cities is a strong driver for us. We see a lot of companies developing products for making our cities smarter. Home automation is slowly starting. People start to understand what they can do, and there will be new technologies from Sigfox in order to enable really smart home management in combination, and I would like to insist on that, with other wireless technologies. So we see it coming strongly after asset tracking and smart metering, which is more traditional type of business for us.
Maybe add a question to smart metering, how you see that the influence of regulations in that case. Is that something?
Sorry, I could not hear the question.
Smart metering, how you influence that in terms of regulation? Is that something you as Onsemi are involved?
So the smart metering is Onsemi has been involved for years in smart metering business with different type of connectivity products. And we do see that in some markets, especially the very fragmented markets for specific countries, where you have a lot of utilities, Sigfox is a global answer to a challenge that is faced by many different type of countries. So I would say we see tractions mainly not in the Western Europe, for instance, but mainly in smaller countries with a lot of mid to small size opportunities where people immediately see the benefit of being able to monitor an asset or a smart meter that is remote and 10 kilometers away from any specific location.
Did you forget something, Marco? Any application?
So I would just add that, of course, smart metering is one of the important markets here, as well as the asset tracking. But in the end of the day, I think the biggest opportunity we may have here is the possibility to deploy the sensor on the field, in the country, all around the world. So this is basically the concept, the real concept of the sensor to cloud. The possibility is beyond the vertical market that we can identify today. The possibility is really to grow new business by deploying sensor, ultra-low power sensor, ultra-low power connectivity everywhere in the world. So I think it's really in the end up to the innovators, to the makers, to find new ideas and to find new possibility. And in the end, it's our job to enable this kind of new business.
The business model, Freddy, you mentioned already about how the business model influences the semi-value chain and the support model. You talked about the modules and the solutions around that. What else are you triggering for, and how you see the Sigfox world is changing your support model, besides what you said before?
So I think we covered that quite extensively already. I think we really, the support model, we strongly rely on our distribution partners. We discussed that already because they are doing a fantastic job educating customers. We rely strongly on the ecosystem and also of the ecosystem team of Sigfox in order to make sure people coming to us already have a basic understanding of what electronic means. So that's very important. And secondly, we will continue to develop solutions out of the box, ready to use, so that we really support on our customers to develop the right solution for their market, and that we make sure they focus their time on the antenna design. We often mention that antenna design is a given, and we see most of the people failing at the end of the day to introduce their product on time is because of that. So we want to make sure we take out of their path everything related to the electronics. They can really focus on making their product successful. Antenna design is one of them, and the use case that is making sense is the second one, obviously.
Is that adding, as you mentioned, sensors before? Is that something you can add also from the sensor side, from your support model towards the customer base?
So connecting the sensor to the cloud is the big opportunity here. In fact, we are providing all the tools, all the software, and all the available material that we are offering on the market in order to make this as simple as possible. Basically, the ingredients are very simple, and this is what our customers are asking to us in the asset tracking, in the smart metering, in any kind of innovative market that we can see here with the Sigfox technology. So bringing sensor to the cloud basically requires the ultra-low power and accurate sensor, the ultra-low power connectivity, and the security, the secure elements, and of course the scalable processing. So basically this is what we are offering to the market in order to facilitate our customer to enter this business as soon as possible. And we are basically we are facing the challenge that we saw before, that we discussed before, but basically we are seeing that for any of those challenges, the semiconductor companies or the partners that you are creating in this wonderful ecosystem are bringing the solutions in order to face each and all of these different challenges.
I heard the word distribution partner quite a bit from the gentlemen over there. And we heard the value chain, module, sensors, cloud, software. You mentioned that before.
Yeah, so I think I was mentioning that as an introduction. We were supporting product and selling product. Now we have to implement software as a service and potentially hardware as a service tomorrow to bring value on the top of what we get from our dear suppliers. Because actually the value chain is far over the component itself, but the component is essential to make it work in a proper way for power consumption reason, for any quality reason you can imagine. But I think the big challenge is to implement all the services that are coming on the top of that. And so I think IoT is 1,000 of simple things. But if you miss one step, probably you will fail. So you need to have people able to understand what are those steps. You need project managers to be able to support customers to understand each step, making sure that you are not missing one. And services is becoming the biggest part of the value chain due to security, due to cloud, due to connectivity to networks, due to billing management and maintenance of all those systems. So this is currently what we are facing. But again, 1,000 of simple steps. Nothing complex. The technology is there. Most of the guys here understand a part of the technology, and some a big part, some a smaller part. But I think nobody today has a full picture. So that's why we need to partner between our customers, our suppliers, new suppliers, and making sure that we bundle that in a proper way, that we make it simple. Because if IoT is not simple, it will never work. It has to be as simple as getting connected to a Sigfox network.
So I think I heard this word in the morning from Ludovic. I think I saw some slides about simple
yeah,
before.
that's also our advertisement at Avnet.
And the aim of this event today was to connect ecosystem for solution. I would like to switch a little bit topics and also would like to talk about feature which I think is important, that was also mentioned today, it's about security. So end-to-end security is a concern in IoT. I mean, we heard that they are aware. And how does the semiconductor industry help? Marco, can you make some statements?
Yes, so basically ST as a semiconductor company is bringing our experience in security markets, in security products such as banking and e-commerce to the market, to the Sigfox ecosystem as well. So the same experience we had in these critical markets we are bringing through some secure elements, so through some very simple plug-in device to the Sigfox market. Basically, we build our security, we build all our architecture on three main pillars that are the low power connectivity for Sigfox, so the radio transceiver IP. We built it with the low power processing capability that we have through our microcontroller device that are secured by itself. But then we are adding this additional plugin in case the solution requires the top level of security. Of course, there is a balance between, depending on the application, depending on the vertical market, there is a balance between the cost of the security that you are able to afford for and the level of the security. And that's why we have this kind of additional capability to have a scalable system with three main pillars, and we can even add as a plugin this additional secure element, the ST-Safe, which allows to basically secure the full end-to-end solution. There are three major points in the security basically that are the authentication of the node itself. That means to be we need to make sure that the node itself is a genuine node. There is the authorization for the node to transmit the data on the system, to feed data into the network, because as I was saying before, feeding data in the network is something that in some cases something really very important. Companies are making decisions out of this raw data. And the fourth point behind the authorization and authentication is the integrity of the data. So the architecture that we are providing, the low power RF transceiver for Sigfox, the secure element and the processing unit, those three elements combined together really create a very secure top level security node, which can be scaled up or down depending in fact on the balancing I was saying before.
Yeah, just one last comment on security. So people like ST and Avnet are completely complementary. Sigfox is secured, so then you can be connected to the network in a secured way. But are you sure that your device will be the right one authenticated in the cloud? Which is another challenge to make sure that you authenticate at the highest level. So if we take the ST-Safe from ST, then the programming facilities that we have within Avnet, we can, for 1,000 pieces, program public and private key and make sure that your device will be authenticated in the cloud, so that you will have end-to-end security with a TLS light layer on the microcontroller side, and that we deliver a complete solution around ST products. That's the collaboration that we have more and more with our key suppliers.
How does you see from Ansemi?
Yeah, we do see the security as becoming slowly but surely a concern for many of the device makers. We know that Sigfox is investing a lot in securing the technology with new features, with the support for external secured elements. So we are definitely on track with this security trend and making sure we embed in our product all the required security for the Sigfox ecosystem. So I think we share the point of view. It goes a little bit beyond just securing the link from the Sigfox sensor to the cloud, and that's a massive trend. We recognize it. We must, however, say that today we are still very few demands related to security, but we expect it will explode in the next couple of years, and we're ready for that.
So I think we start to come to the end of our discussion. I think we made a relatively good journey through, talked about challenges, what you see in the market, and I think my feeling is that you have answers to the challenges from all aspects. And we talked about opportunities and what are the opportunities and the applications. We heard asset tracking, secure communication, sensors. I think that was the three main ones. you heard. There's entrance barriers, and there's all of you are working on measures to reduce these entry barriers, especially for these new customers or customers which historically not electronic customers, if I summarize that. And yeah, I'd like to thank you, Philippe, Frédéric, Marco, for this interesting discussion. I thank the audience for joining us for today. And wish you a good show. I think you are here for the whole day in terms of side discussions you like to do. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.